And hi, everybody. Welcome back to On the DL. We have a special guest today, someone who's been referred to as unstoppable. And you are going to hear why. Tracy Schmitt joins us on the DL in studio. Hi, Tracy. How are you?
Hello, Dana. So excited to be on the down low.
I'm,
Woohoo! DL
I'm,
podcast.
I'm so excited to see you. You always have this incredible energy. Every time we've met, of course, it's only been virtually, this energy, you just exude it right through the screen. It's unbelievable.
Well, you're a kindred spirit. You
Oh, that's
ooze
nice.
all sorts of thriving energy in my world.
Well, I love that because I also feel, we talk about so much heavy stuff on the DL, and I love to talk about things that also put a smile on people's faces and lift them up after a conversation. And every time I have listened to you speak or I've read anything that you have written, I always feel as if I could do better and be better. And I really believe that there's a number of people in the world that were put on this planet for a purpose, that purpose. But I really believe that is part of your purpose. Do you believe that too?
I spent many years, I think like teenagers and young ladies, you wonder. And I definitely know that I was born exactly the way I was meant to be, and you were born exactly the way you were meant to be. We are all here exactly who we are and living our purpose. It's just if we choose to jump in it. And I love that you said that you talk about heavy things on this show. And I think that that's who I am, power positivity, and people feel that energy and they think that I ignore the heavy stuff. And actually it's quite the opposite. I think I'm super energies. In Canada, I like to call it the stinky moose. Around the world we call it the elephant in the room, but I like to call it the stinky moose because we're Canadian. And you could throw a tablecloth over that stinky moose, but you're still going to know it's in the room. And you got to kind of drag it out, air it out, and get it out. And I think that that's where the energy comes from is frankly, authentically taking on that heavy stuff so we can thrive with Dana Levinson on the
Okay.
podcast.
Okay, so let's talk about the stinky moose. Let's get it out of the room right now or air it right now. So for people listening, they may have heard of Tracy Schmitt or not. And again, I'll refer to you as the unstoppable Tracy Schmitt, who is a Canadian athlete, a motivational speaker, an author, a humanitarian, an entrepreneur. You have also climbed the Himalayas. We're going to talk about your book in one sec. You won a bronze medal in alpine downhill para skiing at the Ontario Parasport Games. You were inducted into, tell us where you were inducted? The
The
Canadian,
Hall of Fame with like Wayne Gretzky and Brian Mulroney.
that's insane. Like that's insane, right? Like that
Yeah, I can't
what a
believe it either.
crazy accomplishment. And I wanted to mention this last because we're going to get right into why.
Mm-hmm.
So you were born as an amputee,
Mm-hmm.
and so
And
what
that
is the
sounds crazy, doesn't it?
yeah,
Amputee.
but I've heard you refer to yourself as not a quadruple but a four-way. You say I'm a four-way amputee. Is
Yep,
that
four-way amputee or quadruple amputee. I think, and so all four limbs are missing. Both my legs above my knees and my hands are missing. For our podcasters, I'm missing my left arm. And on the right side, I've got some bones missing and one finger. So I say I'm missing my hands and I'm missing my legs above knee. But I was born this way. And I know amputee means amputated, but I don't have another word for it. Just too long and complicated to
mm-hmm.
say limbs didn't grow. Just quicker, shorthand. No pun
So
intended.
I'm glad that we both were on the same page when you had said to me maybe mention how you were born last. Let's talk about all that accomplishments first because it's so important, I believe, that when we talk about disability, it's how somebody else is experiencing that other person. So we know that in our culture and the way that we have been raised is we experience someone by the way we see them.
Yep. All those
And
unconscious biases.
correct. So, but for you, that's why I love that we're doing this as a podcast too, because for you, when people hear you speak, I think it takes less than 30 seconds and they start to experience the real Tracy Schmitt, not the Tracy who was born different maybe than the child that was born in the room next door.
Yeah.
Because what you are doing with your life is you are raising an awareness that people with disabilities should be experienced different than what we first see. That first glance is not who that person is.
No, it takes like 1/10 of a second. And whether it's female or black or white or a person with a disability, it is there. But people with disabilities have the biggest impact with those unconscious biases. They're the most disparity in employment. And even people with disabilities themselves don't want to be around other people with disabilities because of the impact it has on themselves in the world. And what's crazy is, I busted Uber into Canada, helped pilot strikes, helped Shoppers Drug Mart with pharmaceutical reform, first four-way amputee to climb the Himalayas of the largest mountains in the world. I'm a World Cup sailor where I sailed against 27 able-bodied men, only 3 women. Everybody had their hands and their legs. So all those things, they're super cool. And
keep going,
and
Tracy. Keep going. Keep listing
but
it
they're
off.
sugarcoating it with, she has a disability and she sails, right? Whereas any human being on the planet, I am, in that race, even if I was 30th out of 30 in Melbourne, Australia for the Olympic, not Paralympic, the Olympic class qualifier, in that race, if I was 30th out of 30th, I would have been 30th in the whole wide world. Men, women, black, white, tall, small, with a disability, without a disability. And I wasn't 30th out of 30. I was 7th in the whole wide world. And so it's sort of like the disability isn't relevant, except it is. Except it's this magical gift to give the world to say, okay, she has every excuse in the world. Nobody would judge her, but she lives this life of no excuses, no limits. And so I can too. So it took me a long time to allow me and my body to allow others to embrace their limitlessness, right? I was always trying to prove I'm not, I can do it. And I quickly figured out it's not about Unstoppable Tracy. It's about Unstoppable DL podcast, Dane Levinson, and all of your fabulous Unstoppable listeners.
So I love that because I want to talk about fear, and you've talked about fear and how fear holds people back. I know for myself how I experience fear, and as I was preparing for this interview, I was thinking to myself all of the things that I shoulda, coulda, woulda, and didn't because I was afraid, and I didn't realize it was fear that was stopping me. I was making excuses, and it wasn't until I became more vulnerable and I really found my courage that I embraced that fear and started to experience new things in life that are, I can't even put words to it. I want to say happy, but it's not even happy. It's beyond happy. It is so much more than happy. And you speak about the relevance of fear when you really are trying to have the courage to do something else. So maybe you could speak to that.
Yes. One of my most popular questions on all the big stages, doesn't matter whether I'm in India or whether I'm in UK or US or wherever I am, 40 countries in the world, doesn't matter. Every time they ask me, how do you do that without fear? Right. And it's actually, I am petrified. Like I'm nervous today to be on the infamous DL on the podcast. And I was nervous driving here 5 hours in a snowstorm to recertify my scuba diving. Right. And I was nervous jumping off the cliffs in Thunder Bay, Ontario, the very first time. And I remember hanging out there. And when you look at pictures, you just see me without my hands and without my legs on that rock face, climbing and rappelling or scaling down. And there's nothing, just like in COVID and right now, there's nothing left of me and nothing right of me. And this whole time, this whole pandemic, and I'm out there on this cliff and I feel all alone. And then there's this great projectile rock. And when my knees, if listeners remember, I'm missing my legs. So and they're above knee that they end, when my knees leave the edge of the cliff, I'm just like hanging there dangling 840 feet in the air. Wow. And nobody's there without hands. And it's my first time. And so I'm petrified and I'm frozen. And then all of a sudden, somebody shouted, "Tracy, are you on the ground?" And like fear flashed even deeper. I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Well, I don't feel like I've got control over you anymore." And then I realized I'm doing it, right? Me, and I have a splint on my hand, an opposition device for my one finger that brushes my teeth, but it also holds those rappel lines, those safety lines. And I realized I'm doing it. I'm independent and I can do it, but I'm not out there doing it alone, right? I've got somebody on my lifeline. I've got somebody on my safety line. Today, Dana Levinson is on my safety line. She's my lifeline, fueling me up, energizing me, making me have my most unstoppable day because I get to meet with her and her listeners today. So who's on your lifeline, right? Who helps you face those fears?
So is that your message, that to face your fears, you find your lifeline, who it might be? It doesn't just have to be a physical, you don't have to get over a physical fear to perhaps try to get over emotional or spiritual fears, but it is that life lesson that you bring to the table that I think is very powerful. Very powerful.
I think it's 3-part. Like that's one piece of I think it's 3 keys to your lifeline, right? Is so you earn that independence, right? It's not get somebody else to hold your hand. It's earn your independence. But you earn your independence not alone, right? Who's your lifeline? And then it's also exceed that uncertainty. Feeling uncertain is no excuse for inaction. When I was falling out of the sailboats and failing at sailing, I exceeded uncertainty. Feeling uncertain and scared in the water was no excuse to not learn how to climb back in that boat and grow up to be a World Cup sailor. So earn independence.
Love that.
Uncertainty.
I love that. Feeling uncertain is no excuse. It's no excuse, feeling uncertainty. I love that. That's my takeaway today. I think that'll be part of an affirmation, feeling uncertainty. No excuse. It's excellent, Tracy. What I would love for you is to perhaps talk about maybe one of those first experiences as a child when your mom was told by your community school, by the principal, that you were not allowed to come to kindergarten.
Tracy's frozen due to internet instability in Ottawa.
Okay.
So we have to wait for her to come back.
Okay.
I did notice it's going really great, but I did notice a couple of times where her internet was a little unstable.
She was glitchy?
Yeah, but we rode through it. But yeah, she'll be back. She's inspiring. This is very good.
Oh, you wait till you hear these stories. They're unbelievable. It's crazy. Okay, hold on.
She'll pop back in, I'm sure, in no moment. It's funny because you did the question.
Which
and
one?
then it looked like, well, that question you asked, and then it sounded like a natural pause for a moment. Like,
right. That's what I thought.
And then I'm like, oh, I don't think this is a natural pause. This is not ending.
I hope not. Hope
the eternal pause. I'll fill in for her. I can do my impression.
Okay.
I tweeted that she makes me want to run through a wall. Like listening to you and her chat, I want to run through a wall.
I want to do more than that. Okay, one sec. Should we email her?
I mean, she must like she's well aware she's been booted. So I mean, she's going to be probably right now trying to reconnect. So I don't know, give her a. It's not like
Okay.
she doesn't know. But for all we know, there's a storm in Ottawa. For all we know, the power went out, which is possible. So we have to hold on and see if she emails us via her cell phone or something. Unbreakable. These things happen in the internet world. That sketch? I like that sketch of you. There's
What a weirdo.
Yeah, I like it. It's well, you're such a beautiful model that like
I know. Keep talking. I
always
know.
on my TV, always
I
in
know.
my
Oh my God, I was on the hockey game last night. I almost fainted.
Well, you were in this once you do the Super Bowl, it's all downhill from there. Like there's no bigger program in the world, I don't think. Maybe the World Cup final of soccer.
No. I was on the Super Bowl. Okay, Mike. Like, let's
Well,
just talk about Dana fucking Levinson.
in this country, that's number one.
I was on the fucking Super Bowl. Okay, it's fucking crazy.
I know.
I know. Like, I don't have to do anything else. Well, I
Wonder-
do.
That might be like over 10 million viewers. I don't know what their numbers
I got
are.
a lot of emails from executive people, like old bosses at CTV, executive producer CTV, like, holy shit, you're on the Super Bowl, like that kind of stuff. I'm
Right.
like, yeah, cool. What
So
people
Bill-
forget though
Yeah.
is that I was on the Super Bowl for many years doing news inserts,
Oh yeah, that's true.
but nobody cares
That's true.
because people know that I didn't make money. You make money when you're on the Super Bowl, right?
That's exciting. Like I'm excited for
Mm,
you, but I'm also
thank you.
realizing your guest hasn't come back yet. So,
Hopefully she will.
do you have a like a way to text her, or is it just
No, I just have that same email that we have.
Right, hold on. Let me just write her. She might have lost power. There she is. Yeah. Okay, I sent her an email. Unstoppable Tracy. Maybe I'll turn back on my video for a moment. So you gave me pillows, which I'll never forget, and I use them every day. But then I had a client send me this customized Yeti. It just says
Is it a microphone?
No, and it's called a Yeti, but it's like it keeps your coffee really hot. It's meant for hot.
Where's that from? I love it.
The brand is called Yeti, believe it or not.
Because someone just told me, but someone just actually sent me a link to, because I wanted to have an on the DL mug made.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, which I need to have made. I need to have it sitting here and drinking it. Like, it'll look cool, right?
Yeah, there's a website where you can get things made on demand like that if you upload your logo.
Yeah. This doesn't seem so cheap though. Hold on a sec. This person is, I have somebody who has asked me to be a brand ambassador. So I asked them if they wanted to sponsor the podcast, but they don't have enough money for that because they're a startup company. So she's delivering, it's weighted vests and weights and stuff because she sees my workouts. So anyway,
Right.
which it's a fabulous product. So I said I would for sure put up a post for them. Why not? They're nice.
They're
local. They need help. They're nice people.
And you're a nice person.
Yeah, and I said I would go buy what weights anyway. I have, but I'd go buy them anyway for $30. So she said, "Can I, if you drop it off?" I said, "No problem."
Okay, so what do you think? Like how I mean,
How long are we waiting for her?
I'm
I'm
just
waiting
curious.
to see.
Like, do you have an idea? Like, do you linger till 10:30, or
Yeah, I
I
think
did send her
so.
an email. Yeah, I know. I have no
In the email, there was not a phone number, was there?
unstoppable.
Let's see. Tracy Schmitt.
There's no.
Yeah, there was. There's their phone number
Oh,
here.
yeah, yeah. Okay, call it.
647. Do you want to call it or do you want me to call it?
You call it. 647-234-4907.
Okay, I'm calling it right now.
Because even if she lost power, that should work.
Oh no, I got her voicemail.
Hmm. Quite the voicemail.
A text. She's asking for a text message, not to leave her a voice message. So let's try this. Recent, cancel, recent. Okay, info, create new, Unstoppable Tracy. Done. Why can't I send a text?
I don't
It's not
know.
letting me text.
Do you have all 10 characters in there?
Yeah,
10 numbers?
yeah. Why is that not working?
Maybe we're experiencing a worldwide apocalypse and we haven't noticed because we're
Down here?
yeah. Like maybe
We're both
like
in
my
our
computer
basement?
will be like there's everything's like 911, 911. Let's see here. Oh God, the world ended and we're the last two survivors. That's terrible.
Oh, that's fun.
We'll have to repopulate the earth.
You're a perv.
That's it. No, I was gonna put
Love
it.
that about you.
I was gonna actually. I
Oh, wait,
realized
is that her?
I can't.
Hold
Do,
on.
okay.
No,
I can't do that anyways. I don't have any swimmers.
it's okay. I don't have a baby house.
Right. So we're the worst couple for this.
Okay, let's try Tracy. Hey, Tracy.
How do we get
Hey,
this?
Tracy. It's Dana. We are waiting for you to pop.
I was gonna put it in a turkey baster anyways. Don't worry.
Pop back into the Zoom. Let me know if you need help with anything.
I was on a call with someone from Ottawa yesterday, and they said they were having periodic power outages. I think Ottawa's having some.
Yeah, she's not. It's not going through. It's not getting delivered either.
That's weird because it should get delivered even if her phone is off. Well, what does your afternoon look like? Is it busy?
My afternoon is fucked.
Yeah.
My car wouldn't start yesterday.
Oh no.
Yeah. Anyway, the guy who looks after our cars is really far from here, which is ridiculous, but it's Kevin's old mechanic and he moved up to like Kiel and no 407 or something up there. I don't know. On his way home, he came over to see what was wrong with my car, which was very kind as opposed to me having it towed. And it was a battery. So he got it going, but he said, you've got to bring it in tomorrow. Like once you start it again, you got to drive. Right.
Right.
So I told him I couldn't in the morning because so he's fitting me in the afternoon. And then I have a read through for Star Trek.
Exciting. Okay, so bottom line is, I mean, even if you have to jam this in on the weekend or whatever, like we'll give her
or whenever. Like I'm not nervous. Like we could redo the whole thing. I mean, we could start, but I don't
You know
really.
what? You might want to redo the whole thing. Like you might, because it's going to be awkward. Like it'll be easier, I think, to redo it. So it was only 16 and a half minutes in. Let me just hear these last words. Hold on.
I said I wanted her to talk about.
She might have lost an hour. Okay, that's me coming in. Hold on. I just want to see what this guy.
I mean, we could do
Sure,
it
she
tomorrow afternoon. That'd be great.
Okay, hold on. But for all we know, okay, I see here. That's me and my great pipes there. Okay, hold on. Is this your question? Hold on here.
Your mom was told by your community school, by the principal, that you were not allowed to come to kindergarten.
That's actually, yeah, okay. So everything after that is me.
Did you tweet Carla Collins out today? I did not. Oh, you did, you awesome dude. I just put it on Insta this morning. I haven't done Twitter or Facebook yet, or LinkedIn.
Of course I did. Usually I do it earlier than that, but I had to do this. I had to go on Humble and Fred and make this announcement with them.
What is the announcement?
They basically, on Funny 820, they announced that they're quitting radio and they're going to be podcast only starting Monday. So I mean, I put out I have a press release on torontomike.com and everything. So that's it. That's the announcement. So anyone who was
pretty cool. Look at you, Mike. You're the guy.
820 didn't actually pay them anyways. Like, so this was.
Are you serious?
They never got a penny from 820. They never got paid from 820 to be on 820. They gave them 2 hours a day, 4 days a week, and then re-rolls the other day, and for free. So they quit a job they were doing for free, basically.
Yeah. A quick question for you. If I get another microphone, like the black microphones with I don't know what they're called, but just something better. So there's and I'm going to have it probably sitting right here, because I find that unless I have this sitting, is that better if it's right here in front under me?
You sound good today. Like you sound.
Do I?
I mean, I can send you it to this little 60 minutes to listen back, but.
No, I believe you. I believe everything you say.
I think
I trust all your guests now. I'm obsessed with your guest list. Every person you've sent me is unbelievable. Wait till next week.
Who's that?
Evan Britton. Evan Britton and I are going to, he's going to love me.
Oh, he's a cool dude, Dana. He's a cool, NFL star.
Not really. Nobody knows who he is. I've asked everybody.
NFL aficionados will know who he is. He spent 6 or 7 years playing in the NFL. Like, it depends how big a fan you are.
Well, there's that, and Grello. She's going to be good. Grello will be good.
Oh yeah, she's that one. Grello's, I think, a rare example of like a Dana Levinson guest. I think should be a Toronto Mike guest. So anyway,
although she might not, Bell Media might not let her.
Right, like I don't even want to ask her now because I feel like it's too weird. I like every time, like I usually wait like a few months after somebody's on a other podcasts I produce. I wait a few months before I bug them about anything. Just it seems weird.
I mean,
like
you could always send her an email after and say, "You're just fucking awesome. I'd love to have you on Toronto Mike." Right?
I will just tell her.
She has this incredible gift of seeming so unbelievably down to earth and relatable. She has this incredible gift of being able to do that always, no matter what the conversation is, no matter who she's talking to. And she has this ability to come across as super raw and super authentic. And that's why the social works, because you feel like she's giving you so much of herself. She's not.
No, I mean, yeah.
But she has been able to tap into that part of herself in a way, like the only way I could describe it is, it's like having a leadership coach or some kind of coach worked with her to become all that. And she has never gone back. She's never strayed. She's completely consistent. And she's amazing. And it's an art, and she just keeps rocking it.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. She's off my radar completely. Like,
I'm so happy she said yes.
Social is not a show I would ever like. It would never be in my radar.
No.
Well, she does.
It was on mine. They didn't want me on it.
Well, I think
They didn't
Monica.
want me back.
I hear
I'm
you.
not really sure why. Well, I kind of
Well,
know.
first of all, you don't check enough boxes. I honestly think that Melissa checks a box you don't check, and I think it really helps her with Bell Media. Like I'm just saying, this is
What, the visible minority?
the diversity box. You don't check it.
Yeah.
Being Jewish
No.
doesn't count, as humble Howard
No.
Glassman keeps telling me.
It does not count at all because, one, I don't look stereotypically Jewish, and that in itself is racist. I know, but I can say that because I'm Jewish. No, because people say that to me all the time. I'm like, what the fuck does Jewish look like? I got a big nose.
I
Like, I
don't
don't
know.
like.
First of all, that I don't know what Jewish looks like, but
It's the dark, wavy hair. It's the dark eyes. It's the very World War II prejudice. No, it is. It is. When I started working at,
like name a famous person in this market, anyways, a famous Jewish woman, and then just like that looks like she's a Jewish woman.
which market are we talking
Any
about?
like that I would know, I guess. Anybody I would know. I know who. Who's the guy? Who's the New York writer who just had that Netflix special with Martin Scorsese?
Oh,
Fran Lebowitz.
yeah, of course she's Jewish.
Of course she is. Yeah. So she looks Jewish. Like you look at Fran and you say she's probably Jewish.
Well, it's her name.
I know beyond the name though. She looks Jewish to me.
She looks so like quintessential New Yorker, crazy 60-something-year-old Jewish, maybe 70-something-year-old Jewish. Yes.
70.
Yeah, 70-something. I'm trying to think of some actors that you would be like, really?
Well, Barbara Streisand, because they say her nose looks Jewish. Is this the stereotype?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, this is an uncomfortable.
Neil Diamond. I'm trying to think of that vintage. Barry Manilow.
Right.
What is her name? She's so pretty. Even when I heard she was Jewish, I go, really? Big blue eyes and dark hair. She's a famous actress. She's got to be 30 now, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
She always comes to mind.
But you don't count for diversity, to go back to that. Like Humble and Fry just talked about this. They said they decided consciously. We had many meetings about this. I literally wrote a press release about it. We had so many ducks lined up, but they consciously decided to burn radio bridges today. They said, that's it. And they've decided that 260-something white men will never get paid to be on a terrestrial radio station.
Why? It's radio. No one can see.
Show me one example. Like, show me one example of a 60-something-year-old white guy getting a paid radio gig.
I don't know.
Well, anyways, they can't come up with an example, and they think.
But don't you think, Mike, this is going to come full circle?
Well, how so? Like at some point, what? Like, as a white man, like I have 2 kids who are checking the same boxes as Melissa Grello.
That's beautiful.
Like half of them do that. So half check that box and half don't. And I think it.
But that's Canada. That's what I love, that we're so diverse, right? Our families look that way, are that way. And I just feel like 60-year-old men should not be squashed because
I work with a lot of them. Remember, like the Mark Hebshers of the world, or the Larry Fedorics, or I'm thinking I work with these guys, like the Peter Grosses, like like Jewish doesn't count, so that doesn't help Peter, and that doesn't help Mark.
Oh yeah, I forgot Peter's Jewish also.
He's Jewish, yeah. Actually, it's funny. Coincidentally, like the vast majority of my clients seem to be Jewish. I don't know how that happened. Like because Jordan Wagman's Jewish, and Diane Sachs, she's running for the Green Party, but she's the environmental commission. She was the environmental commissioner for Ontario, Dr. Diane Sachs, whose dad was Morty Schulman, by the way. If you know Morty Schulman from, he's kind of a famous guy from City TV in the 70s. And
what was he?
He did a lot of stuff. He was a coroner for Toronto, and then he became an MP. And he also had this popular show on City TV called the Schulman Files. He was a big deal, but this is, in the 70s, I suppose. But his name was Morty Schulman, and his daughter is Diane Sachs. So she's a Diane Schulman, who went to high school with my mom, by the way, which is a funny.
Really? What high school is that?
Oakwood Collegiate.
Cool.
And yeah, and now she's now she's Dr. Diane Sachs. Anyway, but not the kind of doctor that your husband is. It's like the Jill Biden doctor, whatever that's called.
Oh, it's Jill. Oh, God. It's a
It's like this.
chiropractor. Just kidding.
Well, no, I
No,
think it's
a
like
doctor of environmental studies, a doctor
Yeah.
of, right?
right,
Mm-hmm.
a PhD type thing or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's all this debate on whether you should call yourself doctor when you are that kind of doctor. That's like a big debate.
Yeah, it drives me crazy. Like Dr. Liza calls herself Dr. Liza.
Or Diane Sachs is a good example. She calls herself Dr. Diane Sachs. And I think it's kind of unfair to your husband and Dr. Mike Hart and all these people who have the same designation, but actually are, medical doctors, like physicians, etc. I don't know.
They don't seem to care. I'm a little obsessed with Mike Hart, by the way.
Okay, good. He's a nice man.
He is so good. He was so much better being spoken to as opposed to speaking. And I don't know how to tell him that.
I think he needs to put some episodes under his belt. Like, he's so new to this. Like, he literally, he's a good guest.
Yeah.
So he started his own podcast.
Yeah.
He came to me but I don't do the coaching you're talking about. Like, that's not our deal. Like, so I'll tell him obvious things, but I'm not going to tell him like, be better.
Well, no, you've told me, I guess it's because we're more friends. Like you've said, you should do it this way or that way. Right. Which I always,
did I do it at the beginning? Like, cause Mike Hart and I are in the early days, but,
I think so, because I asked, right? Because I asked, because this is a new form for me.
That's right.
But he, I feel like, but he did make reference to Eben saying, he asked him about his story and he went on for 15 minutes and he didn't interrupt him. Like I'm going to interrupt him.
That's a tough call via Zoom. Like, that's why I miss the in-person interviews, because it's so much easier to interrupt somebody in person than it is via Zoom, I find.
So this is a good segue to my next question for you. So one, I want to get another microphone. Two, how do we get these interviews live and then have them archived so people can watch them? Is it a Facebook Live?
Okay, Facebook has a 60-minute cap. Okay, so I've been through this.
That's good.
With Ben Murgy. So Ben Murgy's we now put Ralph's shows on his Facebook page. So he has the Not That Kind of Rabbi page on Facebook, and I edit the episode. So I do similar to what I do for your little ones. Like, I put the title card, a little music, I fade out. I have his entire episode because usually they require very little editing. But anyways, if there are edits required, I make it in the video, and then I close off with the music, just like. So that goes on Facebook, but obviously he knows he has to keep it under 60 minutes. YouTube doesn't have the 60-minute cap. So you have two options. You either start a On the DL Facebook page where entire episodes, and you don't have to worry about length. I do the editing and then I upload it to YouTube with the title and description you're already writing. You could totally do that. I've kept all your video in case one day you wanted to do that. That's the whole idea. I've kept it all. Now, your other option is Facebook. That's what Ben Murgy does. But then you have to just make sure we don't run over an hour anyway, so I don't even think it's an issue.
We don't. And in fact, I would put a timer on it, 55 minutes, and say I have to go. The only person I went long with was, I think Carla, maybe I went a little longer, and maybe Chris McDermott a little longer.
Even your teaser for Carla was a little long, by the way. We had to
teaser.
was
it?
Yeah, just a little bit. So there's little jumps you'll notice where like blank spaces were taken out just to cram it in there.
No, I trust you.
Oh yeah, your video thing, which would be cool actually. So
I think so, because people keep asking me. They keep saying, I want to listen to it when I walk, but I want to watch it when I'm lying in bed.
Well, you're also you're good looking and a TV star, which are the two things I think. Honestly, that's the big difference. Like, I'm having these conversations with Lauren Honickman right now.
Hold on, I'm putting my heater on. Keep going. I can hear you. I can hear you.
So Lauren Honickman, he's a lawyer, but used to be a
I love Lauren Honickman.
So
love him.
He's a sweetheart. Oh, another Jewish client. See, I only work with Jewish
You
people.
got to come for Passover.
I might as well. Like, it's really,
Come.
it's in fact,
Food's good.
easier to count the non-Jews are few and far between. Because remember, Hebsy is like my first TMDS client, Mark Hebsher.
Really?
So anyway,
Oh.
yeah, this is like when I first launched TMDS. He was the first guy, the first client I think of TMDS was Mark Hebsher. But okay, here we go. Oh yeah, and Hebsy started doing this too. Hebsy just launched. That's right. So Hebsy's a good example. He's launched a YouTube page. So, but Hebsy's live to tape. It's a different vibe. We go live on YouTube, and then he trims it for archival purposes. So this is something.
Okay.
So, but that's different. It goes live. Like it's live every Friday morning, which means.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Should we do a live or no?
Oh, well, the only thing is Hebsy's always Fridays so I go live. I went live with yesterday night with Rod Black on my Facebook page.
Are you live on Facebook or are you live on Twitter, on Periscope?
Periscope shuttered. So I
right. Sorry.
I moved
right.
basically. In fact, I'm still in like what I call transition testing mode where I'm trying all the different places because I don't make much noise about the Twitter because I am of the belief that I want you to subscribe to my podcast. But if you're a super fan, you can watch it live because there's comments live and there's activity. And I have a laptop here where I see the comments come in. In fact, tonight I'm going live at 5:30 with Cam Gordon and Brother Bill, neither of whom are Jewish, by the way. But we're going live tonight, and there will be activity in the Facebook, and I will be, oh, you know what? Fucking listen to this. I'm glad we have this hour. There's lots going on here. I play lots of music on my Pandemic Fridays, and Facebook keeps blocking the video because Sony or fucking Warner, they hear, I played REM, and that happened last week. UMG heard REM, the algorithm heard REM, and then blocked my fucking video. So I actually developed my own live stream, which I call the Pirate Live Stream, which is at live.torontomike.com. So we're actually going to be live there tonight, and diehards will come to live.torontomike.com and comment in real time because that's not being policed by the record companies, okay? But your show, which doesn't play music, is perfect, just like Ralph Benmerghy's. It's perfect for either Facebook, which I actually feel like that's where you belong, Facebook or YouTube. I would start an On the DL Facebook page. I maintain one for Humble and Fred, and I maintain one for Ralph Benmerghy. I would create an On the DL Facebook page, and I would start posting episodes there. We have the raw video. It just requires editing.
Okay, so if we start doing, it doesn't have to be live. Maybe sometimes it will be. You're right. We kind of want more sponsors before we start, right? Because we want more sponsors because
not to do it live, obviously, because if it's live, it's live. Like it's easier.
Yeah, like I would love to start having a live show again, and then it's archived, right? People miss the live at 2 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon. Then when they watch it at 8 p.m., then they can see it on Facebook, right? So there's a couple things. One, I kind of want to spice up my little studio here. The lighting I don't love. Even though I do have this.
By the way, like I'm looking at you now, like you look great. Like it's mainly you. Who cares what's behind you?
It's not behind me. There's nothing behind me except for this pillow. Right. I have a little pillow, but it's the lighting is kind of shit. But so I guess that's the next step. So we could create I have a Dana Levinson Facebook page that is maxed out with a friend request, even though it's public. I have 5,000, but Facebook, when you are non-business, it won't let you have more than 5,000, right? If you're a business account, it'll let you have as many as you want. So on the DL would have to be a business account.
Yeah, absolutely. And that way you can have multiple admins, which is the whole idea. So for example, like Humble and Fred are an admin of the Humble and Fred. Actually, Fred, I think, left Facebook, but Howard's an admin of the Humble and Fred group page. I'm looking at it now because I had to post stuff there like in real time this morning because the press release went there and all this shit. And I had to change the logos and stuff. Anyway, to get rid of 820. But anyway, I'm an admin on that page. So you would basically create, or we would create, or somebody would create an on the DL Facebook page that's not a personal thing. It's not your Dana Levinson account. It's separate of that. And
I
then,
have an actual Dana Levinson business account as well. And it just kind of didn't, it's the same picture as my other one. It doesn't really fly. Like, it's just stupid. I don't know why I have
feel,
that one.
I just did this for myself because when
Mhm.
Periscope booted me, I needed a home. So I created a Toronto mic'd podcast page. Like I literally
Okay.
just went through this. I like it better. Instead of, you have a Dana Levinson, that's you and your 5,000 homies or whatever. And then you create, oh, our guest is returning. That's crazy. Hold on. Let me let her back in.
No
This
way.
video is going to need so much editing. Okay, hold on. Tracy.
Hello. I don't know why you can't see. Oh, I've got the cameras falling off the back.
So Mike, can we get this? Can we keep this till 11:15, the Zoom?
Well,
Okay. Okay.
I didn't book anything at 11 because I
Okay.
love you that
So
much.
we'll pick Tracy.
Hello. I'm so sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
in the woods on water. It's beautiful, but the internet is awful.
I'm sure. So we'll try again.
Yes.
And you know what? We'll just, don't worry. We can pick up from where we left off. You probably didn't hear my question. So I'll re-ask the question. Did you hear the question or you didn't?
I can play it for her before we get raw. I'll play it again. And
Okay.
then,
So then I'll re-ask it.
Oh, I'm so lucky you guys are here. It took me a while to find the facility, and I was on guest, but they've given me the main facility internet. So my hope is that it doesn't stop again with the main facility one.
And you sound much better.
And I sound better. Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, way better. Do we sound okay, Mike?
Yeah, you both sound great. I'm going to play this, and I just want you guys to listen. I'm not recording yet, but just listen to this, okay?
I love that. That's my takeaway today. I think that'll be part of an affirmation, feeling uncertainty. No excuse. Excellent, Tracy. What I would love for you is to perhaps talk about maybe one of those first experiences as a child when your mom was told by your community school, by the principal, that you were not allowed to come to kindergarten.
Okay, you got that?
So that's where I want to pick up. I want to say, can we talk about one of your earlier experiences when your mom?
Well, can't we just pick it up with Tracy reacting to that?
Oh yeah. Why don't you just react to that?
So let me.
I can react to that, but since we're editing and it's powerful, it's not as great. You know, your mom and kindergarten, and remember, I'm like this leader, not just this kid with a disability that's grown up, where they all see me as a child. And so what you're looking for is a powerful, like, can you try, what was like the biggest no you ever got, or where did this all come from, rather than, like, I know you want the kindergarten story.
I want to start there. Yeah, there's so many.
Like, what's a no, or, where did this come from? Instead of the kindergarten mom question, and then I'll bring it there, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can replace that question with the no question, because I have that one too. Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
Cool? Yeah. Cool.
Okay,
Mike, are we good?
Yeah, I'm going to count you down again though, because I need to reset this thing. Okay.
Are you hearing my heat in the background though?
It's so mild. I mean,
okay, good. Let's see if it. No, I'm freezing down here. My studio is so cold. Okay.
You have to listen really closely to pick that one up. Yeah. Okay, I am recording again in 5, 4, 3.
Tracy, when someone says no to you, you're not actually hearing the word no. You're hearing an O, but you're hearing KNOW. Maybe you can explain where that comes from. I was reading that and I thought, wow, that's such an incredible way to reshape when someone is saying no and rejecting something you have to say, or rejecting you straight out.
Sure. No one's ever started with the solution. Most people just say, well, how do you handle no? And you already know, which is fabulous. And a lot of people, a lot of your listeners are faced with no and naysayers, or in this pandemic, they just don't know how they're gonna face another day, another month, right? They've tried upside down and backwards, and everybody is an extraordinary leader. Your people are phenomenal because they're listening to you right now. So I'm inviting people. I hope they hear themselves in my story, even though it's different than theirs, and say, you know, the biggest no that I ever got that leaves me with goosebumps and the hair on my arms standing up every time I think about it was my first day of school. I'm like,
What?
yeah, it seems so crazy now, all these years later. But 5 years old, and I'm with my mom, hand in hand, well, finger in her hand, and we're facing the principal. And all summer she told me, I get to go to school today. And I'm like an excited kid. Just imagine this energy times 10 in a 5-year-old, right? And the principal's looking at my mom and I with these big, wide saucer eyes of fear.
Fear.
And when he finally responds, he says, I'm sorry, Tracy can't go to this school. And my 5-year-old heart just goes, whoa. You know, and that's when, if viewers could see, if listeners could see, you know, when you have like a car accident or a really rough argument with somebody you really care about, and like every time you think about that conversation or that car accident, it's like you like time warp back and your stomach is in knots all over again, right? That's one of those moments for me, that every time I start it, my stomach is in a knot all over again. And I know that you, Dana, because you're such a magical soul, and all your listeners are probably kind of like, what do you mean she can't go to that school? And ready to march on down to talk to that principal on my behalf, all you fabulous souls. And I thought that my mom was going to be all mama bear. I thought she was going to be like, of course my little girl can go to this school. But she wasn't. She just said, how come? And as a leader today, now I know the trigger words, right? If we say why, it puts people on defense. Even if you say it in a nice way, why? It's undercoded, and so people get defensive. So just call it luck or smarts, I don't know, but my mom said, how come? And she had super intense eye contact and open body language and the sweetest voice I'd ever heard her use. I'd never heard her be that sweet. I've got a very tough love mom. It was so funny. And she did, how come? And so because the principal wasn't defensive from the how come, he you know, politely explained. He's like, oh, it's 1970s, was the 70s when I was in kindergarten. And he said, we don't have any educational assistants or support workers or teacher aides, you know, and because Tracy doesn't have her hands, she probably can't tie her shoelaces at recess time. Or because Tracy doesn't have her legs, she probably needs assistance in the washroom. And I'm afraid there's one teacher and 35-year-old kids.
Wow.
Yeah. So it kind of makes sense. It's not that he didn't want me, but how does one teacher manage a 4-way amputee with 30 other 5-year-olds?
Wow.
Right? It's
Yeah.
So my mom said she understood. She's like,
Yeah.
oh, I completely understand. But then she counter-offered. And she says, how about you give me 1 week where I try to find a school more suited for Tracy. And since we're here today, can we just try? But if it doesn't work out, on Friday, we'll go to that other school. So I learned a few years later that the principal was thinking, well, this way, Tracy and her mom can see for themselves that there's no way that she can manage this school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so mom says, thank you very much. And we are like happily, and I'm bouncily walking around to the side of the school where the kindergarten kids get let in the door. And it's right by the playground where kindergarten to grade 6, all of the kids are playing in the playground. And my mom looks at the playground, and then her eyes go wide as saucers, like my principal's. And she looks down at me, and she drops to her knees on the cement in front of the whole playground. And I'm like 5 years old. I'm like, how come my mom is on her knees in front of everybody, right? Looking at me super intensely. And she grabs my arms with her 10 fingers. You know that, and I'm telling you this story, but right now I've got a pain in my arm. I can feel my mom's grip.
You're going right back to that 5-year-old self.
Yeah. I'm like, oh. So my arms are on my side because my mom's super parental gripping me on my arms. She's on her knees on the cement in front of the whole school, and she's looking me eye to eye. And she says, Tracy, it is really important that you and everybody, nobody is left behind. Everybody included. Well, I'm 5 years old. I can see your hand on your heart. I looked up, and my principal looked like you. His hand was on his heart, and his eyes were a little bit welled up with tears, like, oh my gosh, right?
Oh my God.
And so now he doesn't want to send me away because he just saw my mom on her knees saying nobody left behind. And so I'm 5 years old. I have no idea why my mom is so intense. I don't know that if I don't get outside for recess time, I don't get to stay at that school on Friday. So fast forward to recess time. The principal's now excited, and he runs outside to try to find unstoppable Tracy in the schoolyard. And he's looking for me everywhere. I'm not there. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes go by. The recess bell goes off. I never made it outside. The principal told me when I bumped into him as an adult, he's like, oh my gosh, I was devastated. I had no idea. What am I going to tell your mom that you have to go on Friday? So he goes inside to find my teacher to find out what happened. And he asked the teacher, couldn't Tracy tie her shoelaces? And the teacher's all confused and perplexed looking. And she's like, actually, Tracy was the first one to tie her shoelaces. What? So how come Tracy wasn't outside? And she said, oh, because her little friend couldn't tie her shoelaces. So Tracy gave her a hand. It turns out, Dana, that none of the 30 kids could tie their shoelaces.
Oh my goodness.
So by the time I tied 30 shoelaces, of course, the recess bell had gone off, and I'd never made it outside.
Oh my goodness. That is quite the story. And that set the tone really for the rest of your life, because you learned from that one woman in your life who looked you right in the eyes with the parental grip, right? And it was in that moment that your mother gave you the gift of, you are going to succeed and you're going to lead by example, because you are who you are.
And I was a 5-year-old that wanted to go on a playground. I didn't know that I was going to be the shoelace leader, right?
Right.
And
I want to talk about
podcast listeners that you are all shoelace leaders because you stepped up and listened today, right? And my lifeline is Dana. Your lifeline is Dana, right? And my lifeline was my mom as well early on. But and
So,
even if you had a rough childhood, it doesn't matter who that is. It's
mhm.
just I learned that day when the principal said no, N-O, he just meant I don't know, K-N-O-W. So like 5 years old, sometimes we make it mean I'm too small, or that's for girls, or that's for boys, or I'm not smart enough or strong enough. You know, I'm too chubby. We make up these stories, right? And so for me at 5 years old, the story that I got to make up was, oh, no just means K-N-O-W. They just don't know, right?
That's unbelievable. That is
Yeah.
unbelievable. You had this positivity and self-awareness at 5.
Invited. So you're very generous. I'm very grateful. But I was just lucky. I just wanted to get outside, like every
Right. You just wanted to
5-year-old.
play.
I
Right.
was no hero. That was the tool to get outside.
I want to talk about your mom for a sec,
Sure.
because I think it's important that we talk about role models in life. You did mention not everybody had not all children have wonderful upbringings and fantastic parents, unfortunately. But your mom was that first woman, first cheerleader for you. And I heard you speak about how most of the children that you knew that lived with any kind of disability lived with foster parents. So in some way, your your world seemed weird. Like you were living with your mom and dad. Those are your parents, just like anybody else. But the children that you knew that had a disability were not with their mom and dad. Now that, I don't know what that does to a child's headspace. Just hearing that as an adult threw me off. So what did that do for you?
And whenever I was like in a waiting room getting new legs or a new prosthetic arm or something, the other
Mm-hmm.
kids would talk, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the people who adopted them couldn't adopt them because they couldn't afford the devices, for example. So early on, there wasn't necessarily the financial structure. And places like Blue Cross wouldn't take them on as new clients because they knew prosthetics were expensive. So nobody had insurance. So in the foster system, they were taken care of. So they didn't get adopted because they couldn't afford to adopt them. And the kind of people that adopted these other kids were older. They were grandparents. Their children had fully grown up. And so the other thing that would happen is that
Wow.
one of the parents would die because they're elderly. And then they would say, I'm sorry, I can't manage this child alone. So they give them back to the foster system. So, you know, by the time they're 20, they might have had 4 sets of elderly parents because that's who would be the type of foster parents willing to take that on and
So
all those appointments.
were the children that were living with disabilities, they were given up for adoption because they were born with a disability? Is that
And so when I was born, there weren't ultrasounds. So my
right?
mom and dad didn't know
Right.
that I was going to be born with a disability.
Right.
And
Of course.
I'm like, how lucky am I to be born when I was born? Because in the uterus, I'd be missing my arms, I'd be missing my legs. They would assume that I'm not a developing fetus.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would assume probably that my brain or my body parts, other body parts wouldn't grow normally. So I would probably be aborted if there were ultrasounds now. So I'm so lucky I was born when I was. And so I think that's the case. And so doctors advised my parents without them having any heads up at all, except for the day I was born. Doctors advised, you know, you're not expecting this, you're not prepared for this. I strongly suggest, you know, she'll never walk, she'll never sit up. Right? They didn't know I was going to be a bronze medaling downhill double black diamond skier and
That's right, Tracy Schmitt.
and
You
20
tell
knots of
them.
wind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they highly recommended and advised that they give me up for adoption. And it was my dad actually who said, this is our baby and we can do this. And he gave my mom strength to take it on. And my mom just didn't know that first day. And then forevermore, mom was an extraordinary lifeline, but a tough love lifeline. So for example, when I was getting bullied on a lawn at a young age, and mom opened the door to find out what was going on, and she found me crying, and she's like, what's going on? And I'm like, those kids are playing over there, and because of the gravel driveway, I can't get over there. And I was asking them to come play over here because I didn't have my legs on, and they won't come, and they're saying really mean things. And they're not being nice, and I'm crying because they're bullying and saying mean things. And my mom says, how's that working for you? And she shut the door. I know, jaw drop.
Oh my God.
And some of the moms might be giggling because they've done it themselves, maybe. But it's a hard line to draw, right?
It is. I know as a mother, if my child was outside
Crying.
upset that children were not playing with one of them or all of them, I would
You
be
want to
like,
get out there and advocate, right?
Come on inside. We'll do something together, and we'll advocate. Yes, but maybe
Or
yeah,
come
but
inside.
be mommy. Yeah, right. Take away the hurt.
Yeah. But
Ease the pain.
ease the pain. Well, I tell you, I mean, think of stories where you hear people who left their country for a better life, and they went from not $1 to very successful business people and singers and basketball players and entrepreneurs today. And then they talk about their children. They're like, I just don't know. I did all this struggle, and they're completely different. And I believe that sometimes when you've got to make it work in small pieces early, you in big pieces of bankruptcy for sure, that you learn to make it work in times of struggle. And so I thought my mom was very mean for a moment on that lawn. But then I got a light bulb, right? I'm like, okay, I have every right to cry and do nothing. Or I have every right to cry and do something about it. And so I rolled down my front lawn, and there was a skateboard on the street, and I have no legs and no arm, but I do have one longer appendage of sorts, right?
Yeah.
So I took that slightly longer one, sitting on my bum without my legs on this skateboard, and I skateboarded over to their lawn, and it was on a really big hill. And so I rolled up their hill, and I faced them. And they were all like, oh, right? And I don't know if their eyes were like shocked because this 4-way amputee rolled up their lawn. But at that age, I thought that they were all in shock because I was facing the bully, right? The bully basically said, this is a no entry for Tracy zone. And I ignored it and rolled on in, right? And so they're all in shock, like, holy cow, she's facing the bully. And I'm making eye contact, and I'm petrified. You asked me, how do you face fear? Like, I am petrified. I am scared out of my mind. So I take a deep breath. I'm like in my head, right? Okay, take a deep breath. I sit up as tall as I can so that I can look as tall as I can sitting. And I just face them, and I make eye contact with all of them. And I put on a smile on my face, which is super fake, because I'm petrified. I just smile and I make eye contact. And you know, when, like in a car accident, when things are slow motion. Right? Well, I could see the bully's mouth going, like opening. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if I don't say something first, this whole rollover plan I had is going to go south, and it's going to not work. So I have to say something quick. And I don't know what to say. So all I said was, hi, I'm Tracy. Can I play?
Good for you.
Because I didn't know what else to say, right? And I caught the bully off guard. But I didn't get off that easy. So then the bully comes back with, he's off guard, but he comes back with, the new kid's always it.
Oh.
Right? And I'm in my head, again, in my head. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to play tag, how I'm going to play hide and seek with no legs. And they're all long-legged running around on gravel. How am I going to do this? But just like in business, especially women in a man's world, there's no room to say, I don't know, right? You got to just jump in. And you can't do that with kids. You're like, if I don't know,
love that.
say, oh, sorry, you can't play. So I have to jump in and I just have to say, okay. And so they played tag and reset and hide and seek, but they never left the top of the grass hill. They all stayed there. Nobody ran on the gravel, not even the bully. And so I was able to roll around on the grass and walk around on my stumped knees and play.
Did those kids become your friends?
Yes. And same with the kindergarten kids, right? All
lifelong?
of them are allies forever.
Lifelong friends?
Lifelong. Yeah, I still know many of those kids, and same in kindergarten. Like I just talked to Natasha on the drive here to my scuba diving location where I am now. Literally, so many of these people are, and all of them are Facebook friends for sure.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And so you talk about a lot. You talk about your athleticism, talk about sailing, you talk about skiing. You're getting recertified as a scuba diver. Is that what you're into right now this week?
Yes, I'm an advanced diver. January 1st, 2020, I dove 100 feet deep in Bonaire, which is off the coast of Venezuela, for my 100th dive.
What is it that forces you or propels you or gives you the energy to continue to do those kind of things? I can't even fathom scuba diving. I tried. I was so scared. Like, talk about fear, Tracy. I was like, I am not doing this. I'm not going in. And I stopped. I actually stopped myself, and this was years ago, and I never tried since. That's fear. So so for you, when you carry out these incredible feats, is it because you're pushing yourself? You want to see how far you can go? Or do you actually have this love of, I want to ski, I want to sail? You have this curiosity. What is it? Or is it both?
Yeah, I'm definitely adrenaline junkie. I definitely have curiosity. But I kind of think, when Air Canada and Canadian Airlines came together, Canadian Airlines, they had been on strike, not on strike, they had been bankrupt and on their last legs many times. They merged with Ward Air, they merged with PWA, they merged with multiple airlines. So by the time they merged with Air Canada, it was just yet another merger. And they were like weeks before petitioning right along with Air Canada on the other side, better dead than red, right? Because they wanted to maintain their anonymity and the uniqueness. But when it happened that the acquisition was happening no matter what, because the government enforced survival of jobs between these two airlines by merging them, they were quickly like, okay, how are we going to make this work? And it's almost like they embraced it and they were thriving and excited to just move forward. Mm-hmm. Whereas the Air Canada employees, they had been well over 30 years. Their parents worked at Air Canada. Their brothers and sisters worked at, their wives worked at, and their children were starting to work at Air Canada. Their best friends work at Air Canada. So it's completely enmeshed and well over 30 years. And they'd come from, the government. It wasn't always an independent private organization, Air Canada. It used to be government agency. So they had a little bit of entitlement and protection, and they were taken care of for well over 30 years. And they had a harder time transitioning. And I feel like for myself, like I got the thrill of sailing and the thrill of swimming and the thrill of kayaking and then the thrill of skydiving and then this thrill of flying the airplane and then scuba diving, right? And then bobsledding and horseback riding. Like, so I think just like the Canadian Airlines people, like when you have that experience, and so people that have like come from a small town and live in the same place and marry their high school sweetheart and work in the same job lifelong, that consistency is beautiful gift. and a strength of history and relationships and loyalty, but it also comes with not knowing what you don't know. And then without stretching to the discomfort zone, when you don't know what you don't know, you don't seek it, you don't thrive for it. And so I think I'm very lucky. You know, part of the purpose was because people tell me no. So, oh, no,
Right.
you can't ski. No, you can't swim. No, you can't sit up. No, I won't hand you this Tim Hortons cup of tea because I don't know how you're going to take this cup of tea.
No,
Right?
has that happened?
Every time I go to Tim Hortons, they don't know how to hand me the tea. And so you're making this podcast today a lot about the perception of people with disabilities, and I invite it to be the perception of every human being is not that first 1/10 of a second.
Yes.
But people with disabilities, they look at me and they think, wow, she's amazing.
Yes.
She has the strength to stand here and want to order a cup of tea, right? They don't even know that I climbed the Himalayas of Nepal, or
you should tell them. Say, oh,
right?
I like a cup of tea. Hold the sugar. By the way, I climbed the Himalayas.
Yeah, right? It's
Why not?
reframe. But wouldn't it be magical if every soul looked at me and looked at you and looked at every other human being on the planet as capable? And
Well,
that
yes.
they just start with hello and hand me that tea. And if I have a need, I use my mouth and I say, will you please hand it to the person beside me? Or will you please put it on the counter? Or will you please hold the top of the cup? But that until I say I need something, mom, pulling your child out of that bullying situation, until there's a real end of the line, have the strength to help your children, to help your employees, to help your volunteers, to help your neighbors, and say, I believe you can do this, or B, I believe you can do this because you can.
Wow. The messages are unbelievable. I know that you've had a few TED Talks, particularly your goal cast that I encourage people to watch. Before we do wrap up, I do want you to speak about, if you can, what unstoppable means to you.
She's gone again. I almost thought, like, as you were doing that last spiel and I realized she's gone, you could thank her and end this thing at 40 minutes and it would be perfect. And we could.
Do you want me to do something right now and just end it so we have it?
Yeah. If you don't mind. Are you ready? Okay.
No. Okay. Just count me down.
Yeah, just give me a second here. Okay, 5, 4, 3.
Tracy, you continue to defy what others first see when they see you. And I know, just speaking with you for the short time today, the way I've experienced you and every other time I have experienced you, you are so remarkable and inspirational and incredible, and all your pearls of wisdom that you shared today, I am so grateful for. And I want to thank you so much for coming on the DL and to keep being unstoppable, because you are incredible. And I cannot wait to see what is next for you. And there you are.
I'm so sorry.
I was saying
I'm
goodbye to you
tomorrow. So if you, I don't know.
No. I had one last question for
Okay.
you, and then I was going to say goodbye to you because we're going to lose the Zoom link. So if I could just pick it up here and just ask, I want to say two things. So one, I know you have an incredible TED Talk called Goalcast. So I encourage everybody to check that out after they listen to On the DL. And your book, Unstoppable You, where can people find that?
Well, they can find my book and me, everything under Unstoppable Tracy. Unstoppable, so unstoppable that there's 2 P's and I'm knocking over the mic.
That's okay.
Unstoppable is so unstoppable. It's direct. There's no extra parts on my body and in my name. It's Tracy with no E, Tracy. And you
You're
can get
showing us
a
the book.
free download of the book from Unstoppable
Free.
Tracy, or listen to my podcast, or Facebook, Instagram,
So-
LinkedIn, all under Unstoppable Tracy.
I was just going to ask you about your podcast. So how long has your podcast been around for?
In November, there's only 10
Amazing.
episodes.
Amazing.
And there's one for each chapter, and they're huge guests like Frank Shankowitz, who founded Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Amazing.
As one guest, and he just passed away last week. I believe I'm the very last interview that he did before he passed away, and he showed no signs. It was completely sudden. It was devastating.
That is devastating.
He was a man of unstop the story as well. Just like you, we all unstop the story. We turn into KNOW. We just don't know. No excuse, no limits.
And people can connect with you through your website if they want to, or in all your social media platforms. What is next? What do you have up your sleeve for? What are you thinking? What are you going to do? Are you going to share it with us, or is it a secret?
Well, on the adventure side of things, next is North Pole. And while I was in Russia, I met this family, 3 generations, that have been going to the North Pole every year for 35 years.
For what?
I want to be the first woman with a disability to go to the authentic North Pole. And I'm going to join this family on their adventure. And it was supposed to be during COVID, which we probably would have been fine in the Arctic. I bet you COVID can't live up there. But no flying. So when that all releases, we're going to helicopter in. We drop a patch of ice to be able to walk and land out of the helicopter. And then we ski in on top of this ice that we dropped, and then on top of the snow from there. Isn't that
Please, will you let me know if you're doing that? And when you do, I want you to come back and talk to me all about that. I'm freaking out. That's unbelievable. Really unbelievable. You know, Tracy, you've been so incredible. I'm really so happy that you came by and spoke with me today. You really do defy every opinion or what people see of you at first glance. I know that when I heard you speak for the first time, I will say you were sitting like this. I just heard you speaking, and I knew that there was a disability, but I didn't know what it was. I just heard you speak. I'm like, okay. And that's how I experienced you. And I feel so grateful that that was my first experience with you, because I take that with me. And I hope that it is my hope that's how you are experienced for every single day going forward, because you are incredible. You are beyond inspirational. My heart feels full right now. And thank you for all your pearls of wisdom that you shared with us today, because there's so many of them, so many takeaways today, lots for me to digest and think about. And I'm going to, and I hope everybody else does as well. So I want to wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the DL. You are extraordinary. Thanks, Tracy.
I'm humbled and honored. And I hope people aren't inspired. I hope they're inspired to take action.
You said it.
You're all incredible. You're all unstoppable.
Thank you, Tracy. Be well, feel good, and we'll speak soon.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dana Levinson.
Hi, Tracy.